Shalom, it's Rabbi David Barron with my Torah Talk. First of all, I'd like to say hello to everyone out there and thank you for spreading this word of Torah to your family and friends and sharing it with them and passing it on. It's really important that we recognize that studying the Torah is part of Jewish tradition, but sharing it is also a vital part of our tradition. And before I go into this week's Torah Talk, I'd like to tell you a little bit about a great event happening December 3rd, Friday night. We're having a Shabbat Hanukkah. And part one will be for the families and kids lighting this huge Chanukiah, the big Hanukkah menorah, and also celebrating with dreidels and candy and jelly donuts and having a great time. That's from 6 to 7 p.m. And then at 7 p.m. is a beautiful sit-down dinner, Shabbat dinner, followed by a service. And also we're going to have the opportunity of personally handling some beautiful violins that were rescued and restored from the Holocaust. These were the violins that Jewish musicians played before they were killed by the Nazis, and they've been preserved by Amnon Weinstein and brought to us by Violins of Hope, our own Suzanne Reto. So please be with us for this great event. Now, the dinner requires a reservation, so call our office at 323-658-9100 to join us for the Shabbat dinner and service. And that'll be held at the Four Seasons Hotel outside in the beautiful Weatherly Room. So please reserve and tell your family and friends. The first part one, is free and open to everyone. Part two is a dinner, so there is a charge. Just call the office and reserve your space for Shabbat Hanukkah Friday night, December 3rd. This week's Torah portion is entitled Vayishlach, and he sent out. And if you remember the story, Jacob, who had cheated his brother with his mother's help from the birthright blessing, wandered off into the wilderness, and he had that dream, that first dream, if you remember it, where he put his head on a stone pillow, and he dreamt of a ladder with angels ascending and descending. And now he's about to be reunited with his brother Esau. And what will his brother do? How will his brother respond? Is he still possessed of great hot anger, desiring to kill his brother for stealing the birthright blessing, even though he didn't technically steal it? If you remember the story, he sold it for a pot of soup. At the end of the day, we know that our patriarch Jacob is going through a time of great anxiety, and so he splits his camp in half. He had prospered and had many sheep and flocks, and now he was worried about what would his brother do, and so he split his camp in half, sent half of them in one direction, half in the other, and sent messengers out to his brother Esau, saying, I hope we can reconcile. Now, the love of the father of Isaac for both sons, and especially the love he showed to his son, who was more of a hunter and someone who provided fresh game, that love enabled him to develop into a good person and to show compassion and understanding and forgiveness, because as we'll see, in spite of Jacob's anxiety, the two brothers were ultimately reunited. And this occurred because a parent showed appreciation and love for the talents that each child had in their own way. And that can never be underestimated, the power of the love of a parent for a child, even if the child, and especially if the child doesn't fulfill all the imagined expectations. I think Jung once said that the unlife lived of the parent is often transferred over to the child. So we have to keep that in mind as parents. And the other component was the next dream that Jacob had, and you'll see how the dream changed. If you remember in the first dream, after he dreamt of that ladder going up to heaven, he said, Lord, if you watch over me and protect me and save me and keep me safe, I will pray to you, I will worship you, I will acknowledge you, and I will give you 10% of all of my holdings. So there's the response of a young man who's thinking, well, I've got to give something back to God for his protection. But in this next episode, where he has the dream of an angel, a man, a person, an entity wrestling with him all night, and that angel wrestles with him, and you can take a look at this beautiful rendering by Marc Chagall of the angel wrestling with Jacob. It really is paradigmatic of the conflict and the wrestling that all of us have with our conscience when we know we may have done something evil, something wrong, something cruel, maybe something we've spoken towards another, that we wrestle with our conscience. And people who wrestle with their conscience care enough to improve themselves and to elevate their consciousness. And so this struggle, as you look in this beautiful photograph of Jacob wrestling with the angel, is the image of something we all go through. We do it not just on Yom Kippur, on the Day of Atonement. We do it all year long. We wrestle with our conscience if we feel we've fallen short in some way. And in telling this story, we recognize that there was a transformation that took place, because the angel who Jacob succeeds in defeating, he releases him with the promise of a blessing, and the angel says, and your name will now be changed from Jacob to Yisrael, Israel. And Israel means the one who wrestled with God and man and prevailed. The idea of wrestling with your conscience and with the challenges that come to us daily in life, and elevating our consciousness to do the right thing whenever and wherever possible. That's the challenge that confronts us from this beautiful biblical story. And it says that the potential of transformation is within each and every one of us. And sometimes it comes from our struggles. As one of my friends loved to say, it's not always what we go through, but how we grow through the conflicts and the difficult moments. So let's take that message of transformation to heart. Let's take that message of wrestling with our conscience and prevailing and elevating ourselves to the highest and best standard we can live by. I hope you take that message to heart and wish each and every one of you Shabbat Shalom.